Stop saying if you don't use them, you lose them. Explain this in more literal terms. What literally happens if you don't use the nukes? Are you saying they have to use the nukes or somebody else will nuke them? Be clearer. Yes. Yes. At that point, Russia will absolutely deploy a tactical nuke back on Ukraine. There's no other way out of this. And then Europe, which is also nuclear, Europe is also armed with nukes themselves, could potentially panic and do something crazy. America could panic and do something crazy, or likely to do something crazy after that. And then it's nuclear holocaust. It's unlikely, and discussing it endlessly is pointless because if it happens, it's over for everyone. I know. I'm just talking about how devastating that would be. People think mutually assured destruction only applies to nuclear armed nations, but what they fail to consider is that no one has deployed a mini nuke or a tactical nuke on a non-nuclear armed nation since Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Perhaps there is a reason for that. Do you know why? It's because when foreign adversary countries outside of American control and the American nuclear umbrella have nuclear sovereignty, that is part of the reason why America can't deploy fucking nukes in Korea. Brother, what are you saying? If Israel decides to use a nuke, it 100% wouldn't lead to every single nuclear nation to use theirs. In fact, it would lead to their demise of Israel in the geopolitical sense, lose all legitimacy and credibility in the Western states, which Israel needs to survive. You are so funny. It's been 3 fucking years of genocide. Israel already has deployed 6 metric tons, like 6 atom bombs worth of munitions in Gaza. Okay? Genocide and nuke are 2 different things. You have the brain of a fucking baby if you think, oh, this would be a PR nightmare for Israel. You are living in a totally alternative reality. Okay? That is hilarious that you think that this would just destroy Israel's credibility. What the fuck are you talking about, man? I can't entertain this conversation. Let's just continue.
New attacks are now sending oil prices on another wild ride today. This is a Thai-flagged ship, one of at least 3 vessels that have been struck today in that critical waterway. Thailand's Ministry of Transport says 20 crew members have been rescued. 3, though, remain unaccounted for. We're going to show you a map of the approximate locations of these attacks on ships today in the Strait. A reminder, some 20 million barrels of fuel a day move through this critical shipping route, and it is clearly effectively remains shut down because of this very real threat. Let's get right to Paula Hancock's live in Abu Dhabi for the latest on this. What are you hearing here?
Well, Kate, we just heard from the UK Maritime Agency, and they say that as of now, they believe that about 13 vessels have been impacted since this war started. Now, you mentioned that Thai-flagged ship. We have some more information on that as well from authorities. They said that there was an explosion at the stern and then a fire broke out in the engine room. Now, this is believed to be where those 3 missing sailors were on duty at the time. So 20 rescued by the Omani Navy. We know that the captain told the crew to evacuate. They got in lifeboats and were then saved, but 3 still missing at this point. So it is a great concern that Iran appears to be ratcheting up these attacks on vessels in the Strait of Hormuz and in these very critical waters. Now, one of the vessels, we understand, was a cargo vessel, so we're not just talking about the restrictions of oil getting to where it needs to here. There's a lot more that there are concerns of. Now, a quick look at what else has been happening since Iran has said that it's going to have its most intense and heaviest operation. We do appear to be seeing a fairly consistent retaliation across the Gulf nations. Here in the UAE, we have been hearing a number of different waves of interceptions. Dubai Airport, there were 2 drones that hit nearby. We understand that 4 people have been injured there, authorities saying, in the vicinity of Dubai Airport that fell. Flights have started to take off again now, though. We also know that in Bahrain, in Kuwait, in Saudi Arabia, they have also seen interceptions and alerts over the past 24 hours. And Iran has also expanded, if you like, its target list. We are hearing from Iranian officials through state media that they say now offices and assets of major American tech companies with operations in the region would be considered a legitimate target. Now, clearly, there are many in this Gulf region. We also had an interesting quote I want to bring to you from the Qatari Foreign Ministry spokesperson saying that from day one they had warned that this could be the potential fallout of any military action in Iran. He said, quote, "This is the biggest I told you so in."
They have used 10x the explosive equivalent on Gaza as compared to the nuclear strikes on Japan. The 6 to 8 number is old stats. Apologies.
The history of I told you so's in the world. Clearly, there is frustration and anger among leaders in this region. Kate.
Very clearly. Paula Hancock, thank you so much, Paula, for bringing us all of those new headlines. I really appreciate it.
The geography is extremely well known and understood. And perhaps because of that, the risks currently being faced are so severe. Take, for example, Maersk Shipping, which has got at least 10 ships that it says stranded in the northern part of the Strait of Hormuz. And
the more likely scenario is not that Israel uses nukes, but the more likely scenario is that Israel threatens to use nukes to try to get America to do boots on the ground military deployment into Iran, which is a devastating quagmire and will cause tremendous loss of life, both on the Iranian side and certainly on the American side as well. But that is the reason why I say nuclear first strike is not really an option here. The more likely option is that Israel says to Donald Trump that we're going to use nukes, or let's say, and this is not happening right now, but let's say Iran starts deploying salvos with the similar frequency as they did in the first couple of days. They're able to dig up the entrances into their munitions facilities, and they're capable of like launching salvos, like barrages of missiles, like they were in the first couple of days, to specifically erode the Israeli defenses. Right? There will come a point when Israel will go back to the United States of America and say, you have to go in, you have to go in, boots on the ground, or else we're gonna fucking nuke them. That's what it would happen. That's how this conversation would take place. And then I suspect that America would most likely go there. Now, Iran's capabilities are not there right now. If you look at the ballistic missiles that they're using, that they deploy, they're for the most part utilizing the cluster bombs. They're not using some of their larger missiles are easier to intercept. It's virtually impossible to intercept the cluster munitions. That's why they keep deploying the cluster munitions, to keep up the pressure on regular Israeli society. But they're not doing massive salvos like they were in the first couple of days with the specific purpose of eroding the Israeli defense capabilities. And part of the reason why I think they're not capable of doing that is because Israel and America have successfully shut off the entrance points into some of these facilities. Now, will they be able to dig themselves out of these facilities and then continue doing massive barrages? Probably not, because America and Israel have tremendous offensive capabilities. They don't have unlimited defensive capabilities, but they have tremendous, virtually unlimited offensive capabilities, right? Offensive weapons are nowhere near as sophisticated. As long as you have some kind of aerial superiority that you have over specific parts of Iran, which they do, right? Especially because the Iranian anti-air defense systems are either loitering or they are defense systems that they can't have. They're not fixed position defense systems because those would be the first to go, right? So for that reason, I think that they have been able to effectively shut off some of these silos where a lot of the munitions are, and the Iranians, as it stands, are not capable Iranians are currently not capable of digging themselves out. Right? Anytime that they do, America comes back. They blow up the entrance because they can't get to the actual. They can't get to the actual production, the production facilities because they're underground. There are obviously like buildings above ground, and they blow those buildings up, but they can't successfully penetrate the deep underground missile munitions production facilities and where these missiles are stored, right, and where these launchers are stored as well. Incorrect. They just did it. Dramatic footage from Israel. That's Hezbollah, brother. That's what. Shh. Stop. Shh. I'm not talking about Hezbollah. I'm talking about Iran right now. Okay. Calm down. We're going to talk about that in a second.
Any more on the outside that it can't get in or out because obviously the waterway is so difficult. In addition, they are refusing to send now ships up through into the Red Sea because of the possibilities of the
quiet chatter. Dr. Jihad is talking, okay?
Houthis and the risks around Yemen. As a result, something like Maersk is saying the current situation is absolutely uncharted and unprecedented.
Some of the hubs on which global trade does rely on are actually being affected, are being closed by the situation right now. It's true from Jebel Ali, it's true for Abu Dhabi. It's true for a few of those hubs, and this is going to create ripple effect, I think, for a while, as we need to see how this is going to sort itself out. In the short run, we can manage this, but if this was to endure, this would create, I think, serious congestions and serious issues across the global supply chain.
What happens next is anybody's guess. The very idea that this area is being mined by the Iranians, or indeed that the US is going in and starting to attack those various rubber dinghies and ships that's doing the mines, it's simply unheard of, and frankly, we don't know how it will develop. The only thing we can say with any degree of certainty is that as long as that waterway remains closed, then the price of oil just keeps rising. Richard Quest, CNN, London.
With us now, CNN national security analyst Beth Sanner, and with us, CNN military analyst, retired Colonel Cedric Leighton. And Beth, I just want to start with the latest news from what we've been seeing inside the Strait of Hormuz. This is one of the cargo vessels that's been hit. This is a new image we're getting in. Yeah. You can see the smoke coming out of that. It is one of 3 vessels hit, 1, 2, 3 over the last 12 hours or so. So what does this tell you? If the Iranians are doing this to ships in this key shipping lane, what does it tell you about what they're capable of and what their plans are?
So what we're seeing now, so we started off with this idea yesterday that they were going to start putting mines in. And I think that we have to understand here that mines are part of a system, right? So it's mines, drones, rockets.
Yeah, and no, they did not put down mines. I don't think they put down mines. Noah Smith is a Nazi. Yeah, I know he is. But yeah, I mean, he is the classic scratch a liberal and a fascist bleeds moment. Straight up. I simply do not understand the gall of the U.S. to start a war with Iran and then be mad that Iran is punishing back. It's because we've grown far too comfortable. We've grown far too comfortable with our power. And for that reason, we literally think it's illegal to fight back. Like, we don't understand it. We're like, what are you talking about? Like, we're the world police. Like, you're not. Like, Americans have that kind of mentality almost. Like, Americans in power, and even like the average American kind of looks at the situation and goes like, what do you mean you're fighting back? That's literally illegal. Hello. Like, at most you can fight back with like old weapons that we gave the Taliban, right? Like, you are not under any circumstance allowed to, hurt our bases, hurt our soldiers. It doesn't make any sense. That's kind of how it works. So they're just like a little bit confused by this.
Missiles, right? And so in this very small area, and the only place that you can pass here is really only 2 miles, not 20 miles. And so when you have this much concentration, what the Iranians are telling us is like, we're in, right? This is now, they have made a decision that they are shutting their own access here by laying these mines. They're shutting themselves in, essentially.
Yeah, except that's the reason why they didn't. Like that's... I don't think they actually laid down mines. Like, I think that's, anyway, it doesn't make sense. Maybe they did, right? Maybe they did, but it kind of doesn't make sense to lay down mines because they have the capabilities. One, it would stop them from exporting their own oil, right? And they're still doing that. Two, it would stop them from allowing Chinese ships to be able to pass through, because once you put the mines down, it's over, right? And last but not least, and this is perhaps the most important, and they're kind of saying this out loud, they don't need to mine the Strait of Hormuz to stop ships from moving through the Strait of Hormuz. As we've seen from the Thai ship that tried to pass through, they can just blow it up.
And it's worth it for them. So they're all in now.
One of the things that been saying in the papers this morning is the Iranians are showing they have a vote in all of this. And just to give you one more sense of what this is, them shutting down the waterway, you can see ships here on one end of the strait, ships here on one end of the strait. But by and large, this area here...
Are mind maps not a thing? First of all, these are smart mines regardless. Secondly, even if you have mind maps, what are you talking about? You're going to reveal mind maps to China? Like, you're going to give mind maps to like you're going to tell where you're going to tell any other foreign country where your mines are? You're going to tell your own commercial oil tankers where the mines are? That's not how this works. Because even if you were to escort with the Iranian Navy, which is like incredibly fucking limited, right? Even if you were to escort the Iranian oil tankers or the Chinese oil tankers with the Iranian Navy through where the mines are, then you're just revealing where the fucking mines are. It just doesn't make any sense. It's not, it's the opportunity cost doesn't make sense at all. It is infinitely cheaper to control the Strait of Hormuz by saying we're going to blow your shit up. And if a oil tanker is crazy enough to try to go through that, and they'll get blown up, just like it happened today. Does that make sense? It's ineffective and inefficient. It's a last option. It is a last resort option that I suspect Iran would not utilize until until they're completely out of other options. Especially because that would make it so that it's too dangerous for Chinese carriers to cross, and they're not going to do that.
Most narrow area, 20 miles wide, but the shipping lane itself really just 2 miles. That all but empty. Cedric, I want to go to you with one other development overnight. This is inside Iraq, right? Inside Iraq, a key U.S.
What's the American reason for pushing the mines narrative? I think they wanted to get a W, like as though they as though they are like reaching a military objective, because it's very clear that they're not successfully reaching their military objectives in Iran. So they created a strawman military objective and then act like they and are now behaving like they actually destroyed a tactical position for the enemy. That's it. Instill confidence in allied nations that are stupid enough to maybe like push an oil tanker through. I mean, that's it. They removed all the mines. Yeah, they're making it seem, first of all, right now as it stands, if there were mines that were being put down, I don't even know if America has any naval assets in the region that can sweep for mines. They might. I'm unfamiliar. But as far as I understand, we have like 5 decommissioned naval assets that only recently were brought back. And we're trying to utilize them. It also takes a very long time. It takes a very long time to do a mine sweep operation, and you can't do it while you're potentially under fire by Iranian rocket strikes and Iranian drone strikes. You just can't go in there and look for mines at all right now. So it's not going to happen. You are not going to be able to engage in mine sweeping in the Strait of Hormuz while you're under constant fire from the enemy. Reuters is now claiming that Iran has laid about 12 mines, like a dozen mines in the Strait of Hormuz, but I don't know if this is real or not. Maybe they're real. Maybe it's real. I trust Reuters is reporting a little bit more than CBS, but even then, I think it's doubtful. Especially because, as I've said over and over again, they have capabilities of holding the strait without having to mine it. No, man, you got to pay attention to where the ones and twos are. Real ball knowers know. Yeah. Yeah, at the direction of President Trump, CENTCOM has been eliminating inactive mine-laying vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, wiping them out with ruthless precision. Step aside. Hexit's eliminating inactive mine-laying vessels with ruthless precision, bombing some rusty scrap metal and crowing about it, and yet the U.S. Navy still won't go near the Gulf. Exactly. That's when you will know. You'll know if naval assets start being deployed in and around the region and crossing the strait. If naval assets are successfully crossing the strait, American naval assets are successfully crossing the strait, that means they have total domination, okay? Total naval domination. For the time being, they're just drone striking fucking random boats off the coastline. The go-fast boats that Iran has, all of their best equipment is, again, inside of tunnels. And once again, they don't even need to mine the strait to control the strait. So it doesn't make any sense. Is all the White House blowing smoke so they can trade on market manipulation as much as possible? Oh my God, speaking of market manipulation, it was so crazy. Looks like the threats on California by sleeper cells is based on vibes. We have no real indication or evidence. I know. We'll get to the sleeper cell conversation in a second. I really, really hope that we don't do like a post 9/11 style, anthrax scare.
Diplomatic Support Center was struck overnight. I'll put it was right here. You can see it right here. What, again, does that tell you about what the Iranians have in mind and what they're still capable of?
Why you never talk about other topics? You only talk about what's heating your community, what's heating my community. This is like global instability. This is fucking World War III. What the hell am I supposed to talk about?
Yeah, so John, good morning. What they're doing is they're actually looking at all the different important target sets. They've had a real opportunity to, in essence, case all these targets. They know exactly where our diplomatic facilities are. They know where some of our CIA facilities are. They know where our military facilities
Not a good thing to admit, for the record. Remember, I fucking told you this day one. When they were striking like seemingly random targets that look like civilian targets, and everyone was like, why the fuck are they doing that? I was like, they know who's at those targets. When they have a limited striking capability, they're going to try to maximize the damage. They're not going to like randomly hit fucking civilians. They're going to be trying to hit CIA assets. They're going to be trying to hit American military, American troops that they figure out are either stationed and are utilizing civilian ports like they were in Kuwait.
And the reason they're doing this is their way asymmetrically of going after us. On the one hand, we measure things like number of aircraft taken out. We measure things like number of vessels taken out and how many we've put to the bottom of the Persian Gulf. That's all great. But the problem is the Iranians are fighting with other means. And as Beth was pointing out, they are...
Law, that's easy, I guess, to dismiss. What about the Muslims in camps in China, though? Not today, CIA.
Are using things like drones, missiles, and mines to take that asymmetric effort forward. And in some cases, they have an asymmetric advantage. And so going after, areas like logistics centers like they did in Kuwait, going after Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, and going after that diplomatic support center in Baghdad is exactly part of the Iranian playbook.
And as they try to show, go ahead, Beth.
Yeah, so what I want to add to that, and I think, Cedric, you can jump in and disagree if I'm wrong here, but I mean, it's very, very likely that this was done by Iranian-backed militias that are Iraqis, right? We have not seen them join the fight. We have Hezbollah.
Bro, CIA don't even try to do fucking psyops. They just kind of look at you like this. They just come in here and they go, come on, talk about something else. Have you considered talking about something else today? China? Maybe China?
Committing suicide in Lebanon, literally, because Israel is beating the crap out of them. And now we have Iraq joining in. Are we going to have Yemen join in? Are we going to have the Houthis join into this fight, which would, move us to the Red Sea? They haven't done that yet because it's not exactly in their interest right now to draw fire. They're kind of on their back heels right now domestically. But this is, again, an expansion of the war that we were kind of waiting for. It hasn't happened, but maybe this is it.
Cedric, when we go back to the Straits, go ahead, Cedric.
Used
Sorry,
you as
I
a
didn't mean to interrupt.
reaction
Go ahead.
gif on Pokemon Twit.
Oh, no, that's okay. What I was going to say.
What is this? A few days ago, everyone was FOMOing over Pokopia because nobody had the Switch 2 yet. And now it turns out everyone's got money and bought the Switch 2 Pokopia except for me. This person doesn't even follow me. How the fuck? I'm just a suicide gif on Twitter now? That's kind of cool.
Beth is right, and I think we need to look at the possibility that the Houthis will get involved at some point in time, and that would then mean that two different choke points, the Persian Gulf choke point, at the Strait of Hormuz, and the Bab el-Mandeb, who as the Red Sea empties into the Indian Ocean. That is the kind of area that we actually could see some efforts, and that is something where the proxies, just like Beth said in Iraq, the proxies are going to play a role in this, and this is definitely an expansion of the effort, and the Iranians are controlling that narrative along with their proxies, of course.
Yeah, just so you can see what we're talking about regionally, this is the Strait of Hormuz. This would be the Red Sea right here. The Houthis operating right here, perhaps shutting down some of the shipping in and out of that region.
Yeah. By the way, open source intel is just like Mossad intel, but it's pretty funny. If you want to understand like the Iranian capabilities, this video can help you understand it a little bit better. So when the Americans say like, oh, we've destroyed their boats, we've destroyed their navy, what they fail to consider is that their fucking navy is underground. Everything is in tunnels.
انبوهی از شناورهای تخصصی هواپیمابر آمریکاست و حالا با ارتقای سنگین روی سیستم
They have tunnel maxed in ways that you cannot even comprehend.
میتوانند یک ناو هواپیمابر دشمن را
میدهیم که جوانان برومند و رشید این ملت در دریاها قادرند در مقابل
I don't know why you're making light of this. Boats only do this when they're afraid.
با هر استعدادی هماوردی شرافتمندانه
Bruh, we're fighting dwarves. What is this? Brother, this is literally 100% directly a consequence of the Korean War. Okay? I need you to understand, this is the ingenuity of the DPRK that very quickly learned their lesson after the genocide that took place with Allied forces bombing the fuck out of North Korea. And then having those engineers go to places like Iran, and then teaching them and giving them the tools to create underground facilities. This was utilized in Vietnam. This was utilized in Iran. And then these techniques were then given to Hezbollah by way of Iran and even Hamas. This is part of what this is what I mean when I say like we have forced the hands of all of our adversaries to cooperate with one another, to engage in information sharing, to develop systems of resistance. Just as our isolationist or not isolationist, but like just as we have forced countries into submission with the tools that we have with our sanctions, we've forced countries into cooperating with one another economically, where you have like new blocks being developed, like the BRICS nations, right? The same goes for anti-imperialist warfare.
فرمانده کل سپاه در بازدید از این پایگاه زیرزمینی نیروی دریایی سپاه میگوید حالا این نیرو توانایی مقابله با تهدیدات
Why do we care? Why do we create conditions for the most blowback possible? Is it myopic greed, hubris, a genuine bloodthirst? It's all of the above. It's arrogance too. It's imperial arrogance. It's imperial arrogance. Because we are so far removed geographically from the consequences of our actions, like America being where it is, allows America to engage in this kind of instability, this sort of like death and destruction campaign, because we're not in striking distance. Let's be real. We are not in striking distance, with the exception of like nuclear arms, with the exception of like the USSR or China or whatever. We're not exactly in striking distance from these areas that we are causing instability in. That allows us to have imperial hubris, imperial arrogance. That allows us to have and maintain this supremacist ideology, because we are so far removed from the impact. We are so far removed from retaliation. Israel, on the other hand, is fucking insane, because they're not actually far removed from retaliation, as you are seeing over and over again. That's also part of the reason why I when I hear about like sleeper cells being activated or whatever, I think, oh, this is probably a false flag, because in order to universalize the fear and the anger and resentment towards a foreign adversary, we kind of have to strike ourselves a little bit. We kind of have to slap ourselves a little bit so that Americans actually get worried and justified this sort of action. You're talking massive for someone within striking distance of Front de Libération du Québec, tabarnak. I mean, listen, I'm in favor of Quebecois separation. Tabarnak.
One other thing, we were talking about the mines, right? The idea, CNN was reporting that that Iran may be laying mines in the Red Sea. Then CENTCOM, in the Strait of Hormuz. Then CENTCOM released this video they say is of U.S. warplanes and missiles striking the Iranian mine-laying ships. Is this enough to disable them? I think the Iranians have, 5,000 mines that they could use? Would this be enough to stop efforts to mine the straits?
I mean, it's obviously it helps, but I mean, we're talking about a 1,000-mile coastline, and we're talking about a capacity of Iran to use all manner of ships, dhows, things that look like fishing ships. Yeah, you can't do that at scale, but you can certainly throw one or two over the back of the boat, and no one will know that. It's very, very hard to track down these very small vessels that can lay mines. So I think it's kind of whack-a-mole, and we've only whacked, one mole. I mean, it's not a lot.
Just so people say, there's 1,000 miles of coastline here. This is all.
The RGC Navy chief flexing by just cruising around the detained tankers. Yeah. Three ships were hit by projectiles near the Strait of Hormuz within 3 hours, UK Maritime Monitor says. 3 commercial vessels were struck by suspected projectiles within roughly 3 hours early Wednesday near the Strait of Hormuz, according to alerts from UK Maritime Trade Operations, the British military-run Maritime Security Monitor. Cargo vessel Express Rome at 12:35 a.m. Eastern Time. Cargo ship 11 miles north of Oman in the Strait of Hormuz was hit by an unknown projectile that sparked a fire on board. The crew requested assistance, began evacuating before the blaze was extinguished with no environmental impact reported and a skeleton crew remaining on board. Bulk carrier Mayuri Nari at 10:05 p.m. Eastern Time. The bulk carrier Mayuri Nari, about 50 miles northwest, nautical miles northwest of Dubai, UAE, reported being hit by an unknown projectile. Authorities said no pollution was reported and the crew were safe and accounted for. Container ship, name not disclosed, at 9:58 p.m. Eastern Time. A container vessel roughly 25 nautical miles northwest of Ras Al Khaimah, UAE, sustained damage from an unknown from a suspected projectile, though the extent of the damage remains under investigation. All crew members were reported safe. The incidents come as Iran escalates warnings about shipping in the strait. A spokesperson for the IRGC's Khatam al-Anbiya central headquarters said not even 1 liter of oil will be allowed to pass through the Strait of Hormuz for the benefit of the United States, Israel, and their partners, adding that any vessel or cargo linked to those countries would be considered a legitimate target by Iranian armed forces. This is precisely the reason why I said they do not need to utilize mines. They can just simply laser ships that choose to go through the Strait of Hormuz after Iran has declared it closed. Okay? There's also updates on this. The IRGC Navy chief came out and said, were ships assured they could pass through the Strait of Hormuz? Asked the crews of these ships, Mayuri Neri and Express Rome, who today trusted empty promises, ignored the warnings and intended to pass through the strait, but were caught. Here's a video of the tankers waiting for Iran's signal to transit the Strait of Hormuz in footage shared by state media. That's pretty crazy. Also, once again, proving that I don't think these guys are mining the fucking strait at all. I mean, think about that. This is like leftist audio. Brother, what are you talking about? This is an IRGC Navy chief freely boating around the fucking Strait of Hormuz. This right here is, once again, a clear indication that they're not mining the strait. That's number one. And number two, they're showing that they have complete They have complete control over the strait. Like, Americans are so far. Their naval assets are so far removed from the strait and having control over the naval strait that the IRGC Navy can freely boat around. Okay. Also, the other reason why I said I don't think they're mining it is because Wall Street Journal reports that Iran's control of Hormuz means it's exporting more oil today than before the war. Tehran is letting ships carrying its crude go through the strait while it scares off others. This is the other reason why I don't think they're mining it, because it would still be fairly difficult for them to avoid their own mines if that was the case. I mean, they could get naval vessels to like transport them. They could get the RGC's Navy to like help them go through the mined areas in the strait. But then you're basically exposing where the mines are to satellite imagery. It's still obviously. It's still obviously a risk, but I just don't think that is something that they're doing. Major fire intensifying at Salalah port in Oman following an Iranian attack earlier today. I don't know why Iran would attack Oman, for the record. I just don't know if that's the case at all. Once again, we don't know. More information will come out soon enough, and we'll be able to make a better assessment. But my assumption is that it wasn't Iran that shot the refineries in Oman.
Pictures show a Thai cargo ship on fire in the Strait of Hormuz. Thai officials say a projectile hit the stern of the ship, causing a fire in the engine compartment where 3 crew members had been working. All 20 other crew members have been evacuated safely by Oman's Navy, with efforts underway to find those remaining. The ship is one of 3 commercial vessels to be hit this Wednesday in the area. According to several US media reports, Iran has been laying mines like this one in the Strait of Hormuz, further choking off the route that carries about a fifth of the world's oil. US President Donald Trump has warned of violent consequences.
If for any reason mines were placed and they are not removed forthwith, the military consequences to Iran.
France 24 is not doing a Trump impersonation while reading out a Trump Truth Social post, and I feel like that's you lose style points for that.
Iran will be at a level never seen before.
A few hours after Trump's post, the US military released these images showing strikes against Iranian vessels described as mine layers near the Strait of Hormuz.
Wow, dude, we did it. We did it, Joe. Like, what the fuck is this, bro? They're using they're using old footage of striking like Iranian naval assets. And then 2, they're like, we blew up a fucking jet ski. Really? This is the most powerful military on the planet, guys. The most powerful military on the planet. And this is what we have to show for it.
Strikes against Iranian vessels described as mine layers near the Strait of Hormuz. In total, it says 16 boats were destroyed. These attacks have raised fears of prolonged maritime warfare, with Iran showing no sign of backing down.
We will never allow a single litre of oil to pass through the Strait of Hormuz for the benefit of the United States, the Zionists or their partners. Any vessel whose ship or oil cargo belongs to the United States, the Zionist regime or their hostile partners will be considered a legitimate target.
Iran is believed to possess between 2,000 and 6,000 mines. Traffic through the...
Surely no boat Iran intends to use is just sitting out in the open? Yeah, no shit. They're just docked.
Strait has dropped by 97...
Yeah, Iranians are like, wait a minute. They're just hitting our fucking go-fast boats and our jet skis off the coastline? I thought we could just like leave them out there and America would not blow them up with their drones.
...% since the start of the war, with these latest incidents unlikely to reassure shipping companies. Even the US Navy is refusing to escort ships through the strait, saying the risk of attacks is too high for now.
Something extraordinary has just happened. The international...
Yeah, we'll talk about the emergency reserves that Democrats are urging the the Republicans to release as well, which is because they're fucking stupid. Anyway, they just don't know how to play politics at all, it seems. Or rather, they know how to play politics. They just don't want this war to end. But before I get to that, Iran is dismantling UAE's economy, and it's also unironically starving the RSF and freeing Sudan. The Sudanese army is advancing the recaptured towns from UAE-backed terrorist groups to RSF. Arms supplies from the UAE to RSF have dried up since Iran began its Operation True Promise. So, for all the free Sudaners out there, Sudan is currently being freed partially because Iran has crippled the United Arab Emirates. So, you know, unintentional consequences of destabilizing the Gulf it will contain multitudes. You will be shocked to find out, like I said, one potential aspect of the Iranian Operation True Promise is the Gulf states that have funded the massive Paramount merger deal might back away from said deal, which would literally engage in one of the most consequential antitrust initiatives by force. And on top of that, now you have this situation as well. Like, think about that. If the Gulf states decide there is not a lot of value or utility in constantly funding American media and diversifying their portfolios by entering the American markets, and they pull out of their prior investment commitments, Iran will have unironically engaged in trust busting. Think about that. The economic rise of the Gulf Arab states was predicated explicitly on the idea that they are a remarkable beachhead of total security in the region. If this goes on longer or escalates, they will predictably enter a death spiral, since it is impossible to maintain the security if Iran is engulfed in war or chaos. It's incredible the situation was so recklessly entered by the U.S., which was their guarantor and has actually been trying to push them deeper into a conflict they did not ask for and for which they are unprepared. It's fucking insane that America did not even think what could possibly happen to this massive, massive amount of oil money that is coming directly from that region. Now, this is obviously beneficial for Israel because decoupling the Gulf states from the United States of America is beneficial for Israel. Let's be real, right? At least in the short term, because that means it's a weakened Gulf. The Gulf states that are not closer to America improves Israel's standing with the United States of America, because Israel's value comes from being that beachhead for American intervention in the region, right? This could potentially be beneficial for Turkey and China as well. Turkey already has a lot of security cooperative agreements with not only Qatar, but also Saudi Arabia now, with Pakistan as well. So that's part of the reason why I think Israel wants to also go after Turkey too, because they don't want any other regional actor that has like any kind of power outside of Israel. And seemingly America is invested in letting Israel do this. I mean, it's clear. Makes no sense that Iran would strike Oman's oil after Oman was the mediator during their talks and was actively trying to prevent escalation and protect the region and Iran. Yeah, I know. That's why I don't understand who did that. I don't. I mean, it could be like a fucking random stray from like one IRGC guy or something that went crazy mode. But it is confusing to me. It's even more confusing than trying to strike Turkey. So, investigation confirms it was U.S. Tomahawk. Did someone question Trump on this? No, you're talking about the first MENA school, like for the little girls that we killed.